Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hey, Miss Poppy. Hello.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi. Ian McNulty, food writer for the Times Picayune, New Orleans Advocate. Hi, Ian. Hello.
Hi, Peggy.
Hey. Doug MacCash, who covers the arts and culture scenes, also for the Times Picayune, New Orleans Advocate. Hello, Doug.
Hello, Peggy.
And Alan Smason, theatercriticism.com, and the Crescent City Jewish News. Hi, Alan. Hello.
Hey, Peg.
Poppy, hi. Poppy, one Mid-City restaurant, also these days is contributing to the local artistic landscape.
Yes, indeed. And Doug, I hate to jump on your topics like this because I'm going to talk about murals now. So my friends Amanda and Isaac Toups, the week that the shutdown occurred, were able to purchase the building where Toups Meatery has been for 7 years. And so Amanda thought, how wonderful. Let's give a gift to the whole community in the neighborhood. Let's paint a mural on the building. So we have a time-lapse video, and everybody can watch the mural come on board. That's Zach Maris, who's the artist behind this mural. It's beautiful. Definitely something to see in Mid-City. So stop by Toups, get a look at the mural. You can take a selfie in front of the Pelican. It was designed for that. And don't forget the cracklins.
Now, Poppy, there is a culinary connection with the artist, isn't there?
Most amazingly, Zach Maris, his father is Gerard Maris, for those of us who remember Gerard's on the Square. And we last talked about Zach when he did that mural at Crescent City Barbecue. It's fabulous, the big pig there. So don't miss his new work. It's right. Wonderful.
And of course, once again, Carrollton and Dumaine, so right there in Mid-City. Thank you. And there are a group of restaurants that have a brand new business model, don't they?
Well, Peg, change has been the name of the game for restaurants throughout this whole crisis. One of the big questions, how do you get back open safely? Another question, looming in the future, how do you make it in an economy that's been damaged such as ours, and with the prospects of change in the future just so up in the air? Well, the group I'm talking about today is called LeBlanc and Smith, and they've come up with what they feel is a solution to both of those simultaneously. Now, if you haven't heard of LeBlanc and Smith as a restaurant company name, you've surely heard of their restaurants. Sylvain in the French Quarter, Longway Tavern around the corner. Uptown, there's Cavan on Rampart Street back in the French Quarter. There's Meauxbar. All four of these restaurants reopened in late June with a plan that emphasizes a smaller staff, a shorter menu, a faster turn, a little bit less service, but a lot more sustainability built into the business model, and frankly, a lot more equity built into how people are paid. Here's the key to this whole thing, Peggy. At all of these restaurants, everybody on staff is on salary now, and also the front of the house and back of the house divides have been removed. Everybody is a dishwasher. Everybody's in charge of pitching in the kitchen. Everyone does a little bit in the dining room. There are specialized roles for the staff, but the chef who finishes the dish will bring the dish out to the table instead of handing it off to a waiter who takes it from there. The bartender who finishes your drink walks it from the bar to your table. At the end of the night, the entire crew is there cleaning up together, washing the dishes, hopefully as they go, that sort of thing. So it's a way for these restaurants to reopen with a much smaller staff, sharing the duties across the whole restaurant. Now, one of the things you notice as a customer, as a visitor, for your experience, is that to accomplish this, they've taken away some of the aspects of full service. When you approach the door at, say, Sylvain, right there on Charter Street by Jackson Square, you'll place your first order right at the door, right with the host. You can maybe order your first round of drinks. You might order an appetizer. You might order the entire meal if you already know that you're going to get the Brussels sprout salad, the pappardelle, and the fried chicken sandwich, as I do. And so what that does is it takes away a few of the steps. Those orders are already being placed in the kitchen as you're walking to your table. Now, the rest of the meal, you want to order your second course, you talk to a manager who's walking around with a handheld device. You want more drinks? Same kind of thing. What I found is it makes for a quicker turn on the meal. You're in and out in about an hour. Prices are about the same. And the group is really hopeful that this is going to give them the flexibility and sustainability to hang with it in the economy to come.
And, you know, these days you can go online and look at the menu and almost be ready to know what you want. Can't you? You know.
Well, certainly I do that. Yeah, I always window shop, right? And I think a lot more of us do that these days. This model combines a lot of things that you've seen at other restaurants have adopted through the coronavirus crisis to get reopened. Smaller staff, service from a little bit of a distance, handheld devices, QR codes for the menus, these sorts of things. The real twist here is to make them permanent. The LeBlanc and Smith group says that this is the operating model that they're going forward with for all of their restaurants and ones to come. The Hotel Chloe they plan to open on St. Charles Avenue later this summer will have the same model in place.
Yeah, well, we wish them luck. Thank you so much. And over to Doug. Doug, the Louisiana State Museum, with all of their museums conveniently located in the Quarter, has good news. They're open.
They are open. If you're looking for a place to get out of the heat, get out of the rain, to escape the doldrums, make your way down to the French Quarter and the State Museum. There are three locations. One is the Jazz Museum on Esplanade in the old U.S. Mint, and there are two locations on Jackson Square, the Cabildo and the Presbytere. And you can see a whole range of exhibits there, everything from an exhibit of Louis Prima memorabilia to Napoleon's death mask, to an axe used to escape an attic during Hurricane Katrina. All very compelling stuff. My favorite, though, and the one that I want to recommend to locals, is an exhibit called Grand Illusions, curated by Wayne Phillips. And it is about the history and artistry of gay carnival in New Orleans. Carnival is always a microcosm. It always reflects what's going on in the world around it, and this exhibit is no different. The gay carnival crews, they reflect They reflect the rise of the gay rights movement from the late 50s to the present. You'll learn about the crew of Yuga, which was maybe the first in the late 1950s, and unfortunately 5 years later it was sort of shut down in a raid meant to humiliate the membership. But you get to start there and go all the way to the mainstream success of entertainment Bianca Del Rio, who was queen of the Mystic Crew of Satyricon in 2003. It's a wonderful show. The costumes in particular are great. Cross-dressing has always been a part of Carnival, always. And these costumes demonstrate how, starting there, it has become this very unique sort of art form that you see, for instance, during the Bourbon Street Awards each year. And I loved it. It was great.
All right. Well, good. Thank you. Some place to go. We need some places to go. Field trip. Yep. Thank you. And over to Alan. Alan, you convinced me. I had to subscribe to Disney Plus to see Hamilton.
Well, if you were like me, you waited up till 2 a.m., which is when it happened on July the 3rd, and I've seen it many, many times now. Peggy, I know you're working on a few for yourself, but, it's an amazing achievement. Jeffrey Sellers, the producer, Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator, all of this frozen in time back from 2016 and finally able to be seen by the general public. The process is called live capture. It was actually something that Jeffrey Sellers, the producer, was familiar with. He used Radical Media, who he used back in the old days with Rent when they did their live on Broadway performances. But basically it's shot not through the reimagination of a film director, but the actual stage direction and choreography and, of course, the scenic design that was intact for all of the talent that was on stage in this particular Tony Award winner. Now, with Lin-Manuel Miranda ready to leave his role as Alexander Hamilton, ready to cut that ponytail, as it were, and to don a Cockney accent for Mary Poppins Returns, which he was about to film, they were all getting ready to leave, all the different actors. And as a matter of fact, one of the actors, Jonathan Groff, who's playing the King George III, actually had already left the role. But Rory O'Malley, believe it or not, graciously allowed Jonathan to come back and to fill the roles of the King, and everybody else who had the original roles were there. It's unusual, a finished film done of a Broadway musical that is now being seen almost 5 years later. They shopped this particular finished film around, and Disney went at it. They paid out $75 million for this film, which I believe is a record for a finished film. And it will cost you $6.99 a month or $69.99 for a year for Disney Plus. But you'll be able to see Hamilton at your own convenience whenever you want, any time of day. Do you understand how lucky we are to be alive right now? Peggy, tell me if you would. You said something about subtitles?
Yes, I was going to say, thank goodness my TV has captioning, the captioning capability, and most, pretty modern TVs have that, because, especially in some of the rap-oriented music, it goes so fast, and there's a lot of really fascinating lyrics that are into some complicated details about what's going on. But anyway, thoroughly enjoyed it. The other thing is, I understand you can unsubscribe anytime, so if you don't want to do it, but I actually find some other things to watch on Disney Plus too, some other musicals.
There's a lot. Okay. There's a lot there. Now, let me just say, this will be the future model, I believe, for Broadway musicals, in my opinion.
Really?
Streaming is going to definitely be here because the pandemic has got people within their homes, and they're starving for entertainment. Again, I recommend this very highly. Do not throw away your shot. Tickets for Hamilton cost as much as $1,200 or $1,500 a piece. Now, it's happening in New York, and where else? If you got internet, you'll be able to see Hamilton. Read my review, by the way, on theatercriticism.com, and you'll be able to see that. And check out Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, George Washington, and the Schuyler sisters. You remember them, don't you? Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Alan. And back over to Poppy. Poppy, good news. Some culinary-related museums have reopened as well.
More museums opening up. First of all, the Southern Food and Beverage Museum has reopened, and they are available for visitors from 1:30 until 5:30, Monday through Friday. You can also visit on the weekends. You just have to make a special appointment. You do have to have a reservation to get in. And even if you've been to SoFab before, pay it another visit. The space has been totally redesigned, and what used to be Toups South is now the Louisiana Gallery. So it's great over there. And of course, there's the Museum of the American Cocktail to visit too. Another great museum to put on your list, the Historic New Orleans Collection, hasn't opened up again for indoor visits, but they have this incredible app that is a French Quarter courtyard tour. There are 4 courtyards that are part of the Historic New Orleans Collection properties. It's a free app. You can spend a great deal of time and then make your last stop that Brulatour courtyard, because Cafe Cour is open there every day from 9:30 till 4:30, on the weekends 10:30 to 4:30. And so you can stop in for a little lunch, a little bite. It's lovely. And last of all, if you're like me and you're kind of jonesing for Tales of the Cocktail that's not coming this summer, there's going to be an online version in September, the Sazerac House will fix you up because they have reopened now for tours. Again, it's free. It's from noon until 6 p.m., Tuesday through Sunday. There's only 8 guests being allowed in every 20 minutes. They've got these super cool little things that they give you at the door that you can use on their touch screens. You can use it in the elevator so you don't have to touch anything. It's a touchless visit, and you do get 3 little cocktail tastes. So it's kind of like a Tales of the Cocktail experience. And if you haven't been, go. It's free.
Yeah, and great gift shop, but you should probably order a reserve online too. Probably
You
check
have
out
to.
online.
That's
Yeah, you got to do that.
That's the only way that even before the pandemic that you could visit the Sazerac House. You have to make a reservation.
Right.
But it's free and it's a great time.
Sounds good. And Ian, we have a little gem in Gretna, don't we?
That's right, Peggy. Southern Charm Bistro is a restaurant that just debuted last fall, which, seems like a lifetime ago, right? But for the restaurateurs behind it, a pair of chefs, Chef Louis Brown, second, and Chef Sam Facian. This was the culmination for a lot of their career, is to open up their own restaurant together. This was Southern Charm Bistro opened in what had been O'Brien's Grill. A lot of people will remember that steakhouse and Creole restaurant there on Belle Chase Highway. Well, Southern Charm is a modern Creole restaurant, a little more casual than its predecessor. Delicious, interesting takes on Louisiana dishes. A lot of character and personality built into the operation, too. And the thing is, this is a place that had just come along. It was just hitting its stride when the pandemic hit. Listen, my heart goes out to all the restaurants, whether they're brand new or old and established. But to see a restaurant that had just started to open and hit its stride to be brought back that hard by this thing, it's pretty heartbreaking. But it's been encouraging to see what Chefs Sam and Louis have been able to pull off there. To get going in the early days, it was just boiled seafood. They just did a takeout seafood operation from an old daiquiri shop in front of the restaurant. Well, now they're back to dine-in service. They're doing takeout. And they say that they're really starting to make inroads. They're starting to see some of their business come back. They're earning new regulars as people have been eager to support and get out. And that's been heartening. So for me, it's been the kind of place where I go, I get a lunch there, and I know I'm going to get at least another meal out of it because Chef Sam and Chef Louis really do serve up some hearty portions too.
Thanks so much, Ian. And back over to Doug. It is hard to believe that we're only 7 months away from Mardi Gras, and you have some insight as to what maybe to expect. Or
Carnival season is a half a year away, and the big question in New Orleans is, will we be able to have Mardi Gras, have parades, given the coronavirus contagion? But you have to start planning those parades much before the season starts, and that's what's going on now. Across the city, not one parading organization has announced that they're skipping 2021. Everybody is in some degree of preparation. The bigger crews, many of the bigger crews have begun designing and decorating floats for 2021. They have ordered beads, though they've ordered beads and throws, though they confided, some of them, that the beads and throws are not going to have dates on them in case they have to keep them until 2022 or beyond. They're fearful about bans to accompany the parades because nobody's sure what the state of education is going to be like when Carnival season comes. Will there be music programs in the schools? So there's a lot to think about.
Well, Doug, one thing I find curious is the satirical organizations. That's really going to be a challenge because some parades, they could just say, well, we'll use the floats for next year. But if you're satirical, you have to be current. So that's a challenge, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I spoke to a couple of the crews, Bacchus, for instance. Bacchus can decorate parades for their parade for 2021. And if Carnival is canceled, if we're unable to do it, they can literally wrap up those floats and keep them for a year. It wouldn't make that much difference. They're not topical. But there are other parades like Muse's Coup d'etat who try to do political commentary and topical humor. Well, there's gonna be some brinksmanship because they have to start early enough to complete their floats, but they mustn't complete floats that they can't use if we don't parade in 2021. And they haven't started yet that I know of. But I think it's remarkable. Nobody has passed on Carnival yet. And I spoke to the captain of Joan of Arc, and Joan of Arc is the first parade. It parades in the French Quarter, as you know. And she said that for the small parades, particularly hers, it's not as big a problem because, first of all, they don't change themes from year to year, so they're pretty much ready to go. And since they're small, they can be ready. So if they learned in December that Carnival 2021 is permitted, they could be ready to roll by January 6th.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doug. And over to Alan.
On NOLA Theater Talk this week, we're going to mention we have Donald Lewis tonight, the great versatile actor. He's going to be talking with us. But next Monday, a very important discussion coming up with the members of the Actors Equity Liaison Committee. And that includes John Bostic, Meredith Wong, Sean Patterson, and Sherry Marina. Sherry Marina, that is. They're all going to be talking about health and safety, and it should be very interesting. And then, of course, next week, we're going to have a panel of choreographers, including John A. Buisson, Diane Lala, Heidi Molnar, a whole bunch of people. The cast, by the way, Peggy, was just announced for our production that we're going to do of John Bigonet's Shotgun. Kenneth Brown will be back as Clarence the boyfriend. Mike Harkins will be playing the role of Bo, and Andrew King will be his son, Eugene. Lance Nichols, the wonderful actor, will be reprising his role as Dexter, as the owner of that shotgun house in which they all assemble. And one last point, and that is that the shows must go on, the Andrew Lloyd Webber piece. They're going to be doing the final one this week coming up on Friday at 1 o'clock. You'll be able to start seeing Donny Osmond as Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
All right. Thank you so much, Alan. Now it's time, though, for our picks of the week. Poppy.
Here's a great bargain for you at Mr. B's on Saturdays and Sundays from 11:30 to 3 p.m. It's rosé all day. Just $20 rosé all day with an entree purchase. What goes better than with Mr. B's barbecued shrimp than some lovely rosé all day?
Sounds good. Ian.
Clancy's Restaurant, the exquisite uptown restaurant there, has reopened, has been quiet ever since shutting down in March, but they've resumed service, and the smell of smoked softshell crabs is once again emanating the corner of Webster and Annunciation.
Wow. Doug.
I recommend that you take a walk on the Lafitte Greenway, and near Claiborne Avenue you'll encounter an enormous mural by Brandon B. Mike Odoms. He is maybe New Orleans' most famous artist of the moment, and it's a gigantic mural, 25 feet tall, probably more than 100 feet wide. And the great thing is it's unfinished, which gives you an opportunity both to enjoy the painting, but also to get a glimpse at Brandon's technique.
Thank you. Alan.
Peggy, wonderful news this week. Satchmo Fest in a altered form is coming back. They're going to have it when they normally would have it in August. They're going to be filming live performances at the Mint. They're going to be filming lectures. They're going to be having a lot of the things you associate with Satchmo Fest, but it's going to be a multimedia presentation, and it should be fantastic. Make people who can't leave their homes feel like they're going out to see Satchmo Fest. Again, that's coming up, and all brought through the auspices of the sponsorship of Chevron.
All right, thank
I'll
you.
see you at the theater, Peggy.
Okay, yes, indeed. And now my picks. The Preservation Resource Center is presenting a weekly Shotgun House tour online for the next few Saturdays at 4 p.m. Go to prcno.org and click on Events for details. The volunteers at the Symphony Book Fair are holding a garage sale from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. this weekend at their warehouse on Oak Street. Check out their Facebook page for details, but we are talking lots of art, including Bruce Bryce's early Jazzmas posters, puzzles, games, records, and CDs, in addition to books, of course. Thank you all very much, and thank you so much for watching. Good night.
This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area. Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. To commemorate the founding of New Orleans in 1718, WYES presents this tricentennial moment in celebration of our city's past and present.
One of the earliest public monuments in the nation honoring a woman was erected in New Orleans in 1884. The statue depicts Margaret Harry, an Irish immigrant known for her generosity to the city's orphans and poor. 4 years after arriving in Baltimore with her family, a yellow fever epidemic orphaned 9-year-old Margaret. Tragedy struck again after she came to New Orleans in 1835. Within a year, she lost both her Irish-born husband and newborn daughter. Margaret found work in the laundry of the St. Charles Hotel and began donating her time and wages to the Sisters of Charity, who ran the New Orleans Female Orphan Asylum. With her meager savings, Margaret bought a couple of cows to provide milk for the children. 2 years later, she had a thriving dairy, and as she made deliveries around the city, she collected food for orphans from hotels and restaurants along her route. This enterprising businesswoman never learned to read or write, yet transformed a bankrupt bakery into the first steam-operated bakery in the South, shipping bread and other goods to other cities using a packaging method that she invented. When Margaret died in 1882, her sizable estate went to the St. Vincent Infant Asylum and other Catholic orphan asylums, with bequests to Protestant and Jewish orphanages. 2 years after her death, local orphans unveiled the statue of Margaret, the Mother of Orphans, which still graces the intersection of Camp and Britannia Streets.
WYS's New Orleans Tricentennial Moments are brought to you by the Miro Foundation and presented in association with the Historic New Orleans Collection.